Welcome everybody to AP Games. I wanted to try something a little bit different here today. Something a little bit of an experiment here on the channel. So I've been doing some digital illustration in my spare time. I'll get into the story of how I kind of got there in a little bit. But since I've been doing digital illustration, I figured, hey, why not kind of merge my love of gaming with digital illustration and record me as I do some stuff here. Just with a little character from Skyrim. This is Beebichu Cosplay, cosplaying as a Nightingale. It's a little hard to see here with the eyebrows, but Beebichu Cosplay, you can check her out, links in the description to her social. She does like cosplay and mermaid stuff, if you're into mermaids. But I really love this Nightingale cosplay that she did. I thought it just seemed very like kind of gritty almost, just with how the mask was all done. So just wanted to kind of do an experiment here and see what it would look like to record it and put it up here online on the channel. So obviously I would love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. Leave me a comment what you think. If this is something that I should do more often, like once a week, or just kind of occasionally here and there as a bonus video. Maybe you think that I should, make another channel entirely. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Anyways. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. A little bit of a bonus video, a little bit of something that I'm working on in the background, working on in my spare time, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So sit back, relax. I'm just going to kind of narrate a little bit on what I'm doing here as it's going. Kind of watching it with you guys, almost, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So before I get into it, I want to be very clear. I'm very much an amateur. As you can see, I'm getting rid of like an entire piece of the mask here that I don't know what I was thinking about with that. But I'm very much an amateur when it comes to digital illustration. I do not have a degree in graphic design or arts or anything like that. Honestly, I've never been that good at art. Although I did have a charcoal drawing entered into the state competition, and it got through like 2 levels of judging or something like that. My art teacher submitted it without telling me. And then afterwards she told me, oh yeah, by the way, you almost had to go to Detroit or Lansing or something like that in Michigan to represent yourself in your charcoal drawing. You almost made it in. So anyways, that's a tale for another day. So again, I'm very much an amateur when it comes to all this. You'll see me messing up quite often. I think there are a couple things for that. 1, obviously, I'm an amateur. 2, I'm using a $30 tablet that I bought online just to kind of, trying to invest in this a little bit and to see what it would look like for me to start back up on this hobby. So if I'm doing something wrong, it's because this is literally the second drawing that I've taken from start to finish. Second time. I've had a couple other drawings that I've started, haven't really been able to finish them, but this is the second illustration I've taken from conception to completion. So don't tell me if I suck, don't tell me that in the comments. Instead, tell me what I can do better, because honestly, I know that I'm not that good. But I think that I'm rapidly growing, and I really like that. That's something that's a big thing for me, is to see progress. I love seeing progress. I think more accurately would be I hate not seeing progress. I get very frustrated if I feel like I'm not growing, if I'm not, improving my skills, improving my knowledge, something like that. I get very frustrated. So anyways, onto the actual narration of this. So one of the things that I noticed, definitely the hood was the most difficult part of, like, this hard top of the hood was definitely the most difficult piece of this cosplay. I'm still not, I'm learning that there's no such thing as a finished illustration. There's just a published illustration. So if I really wanted to, I could go back, but I feel like it would not be healthy for me to just continue. I would just continue to finagle with this time and again. So the thing that I kind of discovered is that I should be using the pencil tool, and I should be, I was thinking about like trying to outline everything with like the brush tool, but instead I kind of realized what I should be doing is I should just be like filling in the black negative spaces that are kind of like the depressions in the hood and outlining those and then layering stuff on top of it. So that was kind of like the major breakthrough. That made everything much, much easier when it comes to the hood piece of it. I'm not sure what the crest. We'll call it the crest. I think that's it, because like technically the hood is like extends all the way down over her face. Um, the other thing, as you can see here, is I realize now afterwards that I worried a lot about the details that honestly most people would never see these details. I know the thing that I'm noticing is that I'm bothered by details that it bothers me that they're there. Like knowing that they're there is what's gonna bother me. The fact that they're there isn't actually going to appear to anyone else. It's too small in the image. So something that I'm learning and growing as an artist is just trying to find the balance of how much do I need to perfect this versus how much are people actually going to notice. And I think that what I'm learning is most people honestly aren't going to notice that much. If there's little things off here and there, it's more about the. It's kind of like greater than the sum of its parts, I guess is the idea. Is that as long as most of the pieces are consistently good and there's no glaring issues, like it's going to be a good illustration. Yeah. The other thing that I've really learned through doing this illustration is that I'm a little frustrated at Illustrator's brush tool, actually. It does some weird things, in particular on these curves. Probably see it once or twice in here where I make like a sharper curve and it does this weird thing where like the line thickens and fills in on like the curving part, and it really frustrates me. Don't like that. So what I'm doing here is basically I created a second copy of the line art, and then I lock the top layer, the second layer, the copy, then I take a box, put it behind all the line work, and then I use that to basically to color in everything, and then I isolate that group, and I'm able to isolate I merge that group, isolate it, and then I'm able to actually like get the base layer of color down for all these different regions, and then using the brush tool and the pencil tool to actually create more layers on top of it. I noticed that I kind of messed up there a little bit with the hood, just kind of missing a couple key pieces. So organizing my my layers a bit so that when I start drawing and get going on it, and changing the skin color up a little bit as well. Getting here on the shadows. Definitely the thing that I started to learn with the shadows is that it's okay to be aggressive with the shadows. Like I think just with this style of art, it's okay to be aggressive with the shadows, because the more that I use the shadows, the more that the highlights stick out. That's a very obvious statement, but it's something I guess that is difficult to keep in mind as going through and actually doing the illustration. Is that it's going to be okay if things are pretty dark. It's going to be okay if you know, because all that's going to do is accentuate the highlights more. So don't be too worried about that. You can see I'm like slowly like piecing together like little bits, and then finally I was just like, most of this should actually be, pretty dark. Which I think is fitting, given the fact that this is a Nightingale. For those of you that are not familiar with a Nightingale, Nightingale is a servant of Nocturnal in Skyrim, one of the Elder Scrolls games. Nocturnal is basically this they call him Daedra, but like I'm not gonna call him like a demon. They're just kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. But like a being of higher power that's not necessarily benevolent, but not also necessarily malevolent. Some of them are, but others aren't. Anyways, basically like the patron of like darkness. So the fact that using a lot of dark colors and dark shades on this image kind of makes sense. That's the other thing that I really noticed about this, is that the eyes definitely are okay. Well, before talking about the eyes, that brown piece, I come back to this brown piece. It's just a little lock of hair is what I'm trying to accentuate, and honestly, it is just frustrating. That piece was so frustrating. I don't know why, but it was just the most difficult piece to get right. I wanted to kind of get just like this little highlight of hair. It's like, okay, there's a little bit of hair under there, and it just wasn't working out. So anyways, back to the eyes. The eyes, the other thing that I noticed is that like just filling in the eyes early actually made a really big difference for me when it came to me seeing the expressiveness and the life that I'm creating in this illustration. Some of the later illustrations that I've kind of forgotten to do that. I haven't filled in the eyes immediately, and the image just looks lifeless from until I put those eye, even just the shadows in there, but also like the pupils and the coloration and stuff. Like putting that in early, I think is actually very important for just the ability for me to connect with the life that's being instilled in this illustration. Yeah, just kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of so this is very ad hoc, what I'm doing right here, right now. It's almost like a therapy session after this illustration. It's like me telling you guys about everything that was frustrating about it. Everything that was good, everything that was awkward, everything that I was really happy about, the things that I learned. So this is kind of a little bit of self-reflection. It's almost a journal. So I don't know. This is the first time I'm doing it. So again, if you guys think this is good, let me know. If you'd rather just have me shut up and play some copyright-free, royalty-free music in the background while you watch my illustration go, then let me know about that too. But until then, we'll just keep going with this. So I did say that I wanted to share a little bit of my journey to digital illustration. So I'll keep it brief, but not, I'll keep it brief, but long enough to make it interesting, hopefully. So starting when I was 4, I'm kidding. So growing up, I did a lot of drawing. It was just I had a sketchbook. I had multiple sketchbooks. There's actually in my parents' house, in my old room, I have like a standing like art table, right? Like one of those ones that like you can tilt it a little bit so you can have like all your papers there and like drawing and stuff. So I sketched stuff growing up. I remember like there was one sketch in particular that I just, for whatever reason, Warcraft 3 was the game, and I just remember sketching like characters from that game, and it's just like deeply ingrained in my mind. So growing up, I did that, and about the time you start getting into like sports and girls, and like the social scene becomes a much bigger thing, and like that sort of thing, I just kind of lost, I guess, my love or like my passion for it. I don't know if passion is the right word. I just kind of lost it in the busyness of other things. Sports was a really big thing in my house growing up, and I enjoy sports. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just kind of like fell off the table. It just kind of fell out of favor with me. So this past year, my wife and I celebrated our 5th anniversary, 5 years together, and to celebrate, we went out on a trip to Colorado. So that took up most of that was basically our gift to one another for our anniversary. I was out there for business, and so we said, okay, let's just go ahead and I'll take vacation days immediately afterwards. And then my wife flew out, and we spent 5 or 6 days in Colorado. And so all of our money was basically tied up in Airbnbs and food and the rental car. And we did a lot of hiking, and we did a lot of other stuff. We went horseback riding. Really cool, a lot of fun. But what that means is that there wasn't a lot of money left in the bank account to buy like a gift, right? The other piece is that my wife and I are very diligent about our money and our finances and our budget. And that means that my wife watches every transaction. So if I buy anything, she sees it. So that makes it very difficult to give her a surprise gift. So I had to find other creative ways to do that. So what I did is I found a sale, a solid state drive that was on sale. And I've been wanting to get a solid state drive anyways. It was on sale for like half price or something like that. So what I did is on Amazon, I bought a very cheap drawing tablet along with the solid state drive and one other thing. So that way, I forget what it was, headphones. So again, some headphones that were on sale. So I bought all these things together. My wife doesn't look at my Amazon account as far as like what I've bought. But she sees like the transaction go through, and so when it comes, I can explain to her, oh, it's a pair of headphones and a solid state drive, which she's not going to ask questions. Those are pretty, more expensive than the things that I normally buy. Anyways, so I bought a cheap tablet And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get back into drawing. Like, it's one of those things that I wanted to, again, I'm very much like pro growth and just kind of challenging myself to grow and mature and to just kind of build my skills. And in doing so, I discovered that, I like YouTube is one of the ways that I do that, learning the Adobe Premiere and Photoshop and other things. But then Illustrator was another one that I wanted to get to know. And this is a perfect avenue of reigniting my passion for illustration, doing something for my wife, and then growing my skills to make me more valuable in my day-to-day job and my resume and all these sort of things, while also being something that I really enjoy. So it just kind of was like this perfect storm of all these things I wanted to do. Anyway, so what I did is I took a photo. I took a photo of my wife, and it's a photo that I love. And I spent a lot of time learning to do digital illustration, and I drew that photo for her. I illustrated a photo of her drinking some tea out of a mug. It's for whatever reason, it's an image that has just so much like life, and like it shows, even though like you can only see her eyes in the cup and her hair, but for whatever reason, like there's so much like emotion and like of her personality is conveyed through it. So I love that picture. So I drew it, and I basically spent like I have an hour for lunch each day at work, so I would take 20 minutes, eat my food really quickly, and spend the next 40 minutes or so drawing, and just did it at work. And there were a couple times where I texted her and said I'm gonna stay late at work, and she assumed that I was working on work things, but I never said that I was working on work things. I just said I was staying late at work. So I would stay late at work for an hour or so if I felt like it was a good night to draw or something like that. And so I spent like hours slaving over this photo, and I gave that to her as our anniversary gift. So, anyways, so the idea is basically I did that, and then once I was done with that, I said to myself, like, what if, like, why can't I do this for my channel? Why can't I do this as something, like, I would like to continue doing this, and let's see what the people on my channel think. So, so that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of the story of how I got back into illustration, and I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. So there we go. Story time with APG. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. So there we are, again, going back to this brown hair thing. It's so frustrating. I don't know why. Hair has turned out to be the most difficult thing for me to get right. So I've tried like layering here, where I got like different levels of color and like all sorts of stuff, and it's just not working. It's just not working for me for whatever reason. Highlights and midtones and all this sort of stuff, and it's just, ugh. I think the eyes look very good though. I like the way the eyes turned out. And the eyelashes as well. I'll get these, I think, if I remember correctly, I think that I'm pretty happy with these overall. Again, this is another area where I'm learning that people are not going to be able to see the level of detail that I'm seeing here. It'll still translate into a good aesthetic experience, if you will, for the viewer, but that doesn't mean that I need to have every one of these, like, I don't have to have all these strokes as perfect as I'm doing them. So just kind of learning the limits of, okay, I'm zoomed in 60, like, I'm zoomed in anywhere from 1,000 to 6,000% on this photo. So don't worry about it too much. I wanted to get the eyelashes just right. So what I ended up doing is basically migrating them over, creating a copy and migrating them over to the other eye. And then like separating them out into chunks, so that way I could correctly position them along the eyebrow, or along the eyelid. Sorry. It turned out somewhat effective, although the thing that I started to discover is that because of the way that the head is turned, the eyelashes don't actually necessarily fit, just because of the perspective on it. So, but that's okay. So anyways, so after my oh yeah, I think this is where I started doing the mask. Yeah. So I gotta start doing the mask. So This is me again being an amateur. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm turning off the layers underneath that I already have done, and using that so that I'm able to actually see the mask. And again, I'm kind of doing this outlining of instead of highlighting the positive spaces, like using the colors underneath to color the negative space behind these hard lines. Anyways, so again, like after kind of like thinking about it, and like I've started to learn the skill, and I would like to keep doing that. So how do I take this and how do I make this as something that I think my audience would like? And so obviously I'm a gaming channel. You guys like gaming. One of the other things that I really appreciate, or I've begun to appreciate more, is cosplay. And that's just like, again, from the craftsmanship that it takes to create one of these costumes, and all the things that everyone has, like all the time and effort and energy that's put into these cosplays it's like, just thinking about this image took me 7 hours total. And so thinking about all the effort that it takes to go into a cosplay, I'm very humbled at the dedication that somebody would have to actually make that happen. And so, I don't know, I just have a much greater appreciation for it, even after doing these illustrations. So, obviously cosplay is a big thing with gaming, and it's fun, and I like to be able to kind of contribute to the gaming community in another way. So Let's Plays is one thing. I do some game reviews on this channel, but then also illustration. And just kind of, I don't know, almost like these illustrations being a way to acknowledge the cosplayers and the fact that what they do is really difficult. It takes a lot of different, from what I've heard and what I've seen, it takes a lot of different skills and a lot of different tools and like techniques, and you're working with fabric, you're working with foam, you're working with metal and buttons and clasps and all these different things, and you have to make it look correct, but you also have to like make it work on your body, and you have to make it look good and photograph well. All these, I don't even want to think about it. So I don't know, I just kind of seen this illustration, me illustrating these, is kind of a way of acknowledging that their hard work is very much appreciated. And if you haven't already done so, like at the end of this video, check out Beebichu Cosplay and give her some love. I already sent this to her on Instagram. She didn't respond, but that's okay. People are busy, and she probably thinks I'm some creeper dude, but I'm not. I don't think I am. Anyways, hopefully you guys don't think I am either. So one of the other things I learned through this through this illustration of cosplay, is the idea that what exists in the photo isn't necessarily what's going to translate best to an illustration. And that's something that I didn't fully learn in this illustration. I started to learn it more in the next one, which will be coming out soon. If you guys want it, obviously tell me down below in the comments if you actually want this. So like this part, the mask, the reason I bring it up is this part with the mask. The mask was definitely, I felt okay about the mask, but definitely the mask itself differs from what is actually present in the cosplay image below. The cosplay image below is much more rough and ragged and like worn out. So, which I think is great. I just don't think that I had necessarily the skill at this time. Again, this is my second finished drawing. I just don't think that I had the skill at this time to accurately convey that, and to convey like the roughness of the mask, and how like worn, and like the way that the cosplay looks is though this mask and the crest of the hood have actually been weathered outside and have seen action and have been used, and I don't think that I had the skill necessarily to convey that. So which, I mean, I'm getting better, but yeah. So one of the things the thing that I'm least happy about with this illustration, other than the hair, other than that little brown lock of hair, I hate that. But other than that, the thing that I'm least happy about is the hood, particularly the crest part. The crest part I'm not happy with. It just doesn't, like, I didn't get the highlights right, and I wasn't really sure how to do that. But I did as much as I could as far as like shading and overlaying it and what that looks like. I just, it was difficult, definitely. So I don't know if you have any advice, any more seasoned illustrators out there. I would love to get your input and your advice on how I can improve. Yeah. So I'm more happy with the mask than I am with the crest, but the crest, but I'm still not perfectly happy with either of them. The other piece that I learned, as far as like this idea of what's there in the image isn't necessarily best for the cost or for the illustration, was at the neckline. I was really struggling with how to sort out, like, because you have these, these flaps of like the jacket and the cloak that come together around the neck and conveying that, and I had a really difficult time with doing that. So I kind of made almost an ad hoc call to just say, I'm going to kind of like do this cut of like basically just doing like the mask and the crest and the hood and a little bit of those cloak like collars, and then like doing just kind of like a tapering shot down at the bottom, which you can't really see at this moment, but it just seemed like a better way to end it rather than just like a flat line at the bottom of the image. So but again, that was another example of where I kind of discovered that I think that what's going to be best for the image is not exactly following what exists there in the original image, which I don't know. It's kind of like this idea of what exists isn't necessarily reality. It's what the artist sees is more of like reality. Yeah. So I wanted to do something like, obviously I'm pretty much done with the illustration at this point. What I wanted to do was kind of just, I don't know, something a little bit different and acknowledging the image that this is, who did the cosplay, and like give them appropriate credit. So I definitely, the next thing that I want to do beyond, like, once I've really perfected my ability to do like the basics of illustration is font and lettering. It needs to be improved. I will readily acknowledge that it's not perfect, but I don't know. I'm okay with it. I acknowledge that it needs to be better, but that's where we're at. And this is the final image. So again, in the comments down below, let me know what you thought. If you have any ways that I can improve, let me know down below. If this is something you want to see more of, let me know down in the comments, like once a week, just kind of an occasional thing here and there. Leave me a comment down below. I really love you guys, constructive feedback. So until next time, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Check out some of the other series on the channel, and we'll see you again soon here on AP Games.